Welcome everybody to Hunt's Fantasy Football 2009. I'm your host, Kevin Silva, along with
Billy Delaney, and on today's show we have Pat Hanlon finally with his new segment, The Player Haters Ball, Marco and the Busted Ravioli, Mega Monday Night, and much more. Stay tuned.
This is the greatest vidcast on earth.
Fantasy managers are hoping some of their picks will have a bounce-back season this year. Top players from years past have been forgotten about or undervalued because of injury or inconsistency in the past few seasons. But how many of these underachieving picks will return to fantasy studs in 2009?
Who's going to have a bounce-back season this year? I have a list of players here. Let's start off. We'll start off with quarterbacks. Carson Palmer. A lot of people forgot about him. How's he going to do this year?
Carson Palmer, picked by, of course, the silver medalist. Kevin sitting right next to me. 5th round, he went. First overall pick. That's a pretty high pick. A lot of people thought Kevin reached for him, but I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to return to his fantasy status of a few years ago where he was throwing 20 touchdowns a season, 300 fantasy points. I see the Cincinnati offense a lot better this year. Ocho Cinco is going to be back healthy for a full year. His name's going to be Ocho Cinco the whole year. I think Carson Palmer is going to return to Pro Bowl form.
I hope we all see that. Next, LDT, LaDainian Tomlinson, LT, whatever you want to call him. He used to be a stud. Right now, not so much. Fell to 7th. What do you think?
7th overall pick in the draft last year. He was the first overall pick in the draft. Not really a sleeper, but he is slipping in this league, and he's going to slip this year. Darren Sproles has had a very strong preseason. You know I want him to do well. His fantasy points have been on a decline. He did have 28 touchdowns in 2006, but his fantasy numbers are going down and down. I see him going on the decline. He's on the back 9 of his career.
We'll move over to wide receivers. You touched upon Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, well now officially Ocho Cinco. What do you think about him this year?
Ocho Cinco. Last year, not that great. 78 fantasy points total. Total waste of a year for Ocho Cinco. You know he usually piles up the numbers. A few years ago, he was putting up 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns. I see him doing that again this year. A healthy Carson Palmer the whole year. Number 1 receiver status. Solid. No TJ Who's Your Mama there to take any of the passes away. He's going to be the guy in Cincinnati, and he's going to have a big bounce-back year.
Now this running back, a couple of years ago, you didn't stop hearing his name, Larry Johnson. He was huge.
Larry Johnson was the first pick in the draft by Rossi 2 years ago. Now he's the first pick in the 4th round by Pachi. 2006, 17 touchdowns. 2007, 3 touchdowns. 2008, I had him. Not a great year. He's going down. Kansas City is a bad team. Their quarterback's hurt. They're going to be keying on the run. And he just doesn't look like he can get it done anymore, in my opinion.
Used to be fast Willie Parker. Some say not so fast anymore. What do you say?
Willie Parker is the injury machine. Another player picked by Pachi. This time it was the 5th pick in the 12th round. 2006, when Marco had him, it was 13 touchdowns, and he had an incredible year. And then he dropped down to 2, and last year he had 5. An improvement from the year before, but he's not going to be the guy. Pittsburgh, when they won the Super Bowl, they weren't really a pound-the-ball, smash-mouth football team. And I just see Willie Parker not getting as many carries, not getting as many goal line carries. He's going to go down once again from 5 touchdowns to less.
Indianapolis's running back, Joseph Adai. They drafted Donald Brown. What do you think? Anthony took both of them.
Well, I got to say, Adai, if healthy, I think he's dominant. When he was in there in 2007, he had 12 TDs. Last year, he was hurt. He was in and out of the lineup. He had 5 touchdowns. I really think Adai's going to have a big bounce-back year because when Peyton Manning is at his best, he has a running back carrying that team. That's when they win a lot of games, and I think they're going to try and get him involved early and often this season.
This one's close to all of us. Lawrence Maroney. 2 men running backs on the Patriots team, in my opinion. What do you think?
Second straight year I have Lawrence Maroney. Last year he had 9 fantasy points. He's never been a fantasy stud, but he's always had the potential. The running back of the New England Patriots you think is going to get a lot of fantasy points. Even though I drafted him, I picked him 7th in the 10th round. It was just a wing and a prayer. I don't think he's going to have that great of a season. I'm hoping, but who knows with the Patriots. They have a plethora of running backs to go through.
Now, this guy, Cadillac Williams, one huge year, then he kind of fell off the face of the earth. He's back. What do you think?
Injury prone, I picked him up because I heard he was going to be the starter. I like the guy, but there's another carousel of running backs in there. You got Ward, you got Ernest Graham. I just don't know if he's going to be the guy all season long. I hope he is. I hope, he's a solid running back for me, but 2005, he had 6 touchdowns and 1,200 yards, and since then he has barely combined those numbers in the other seasons after his rookie season, beast season, but since then he's only had 8 touchdowns and 1,200 yards in 3 seasons. Not good, not a good trend, but if he's healthy, who knows? I think he might have a bounce-back season.
Well, that's everybody on our list. Stick around for the rest of the show.
And now on the vidcast, a very special HBO presentation.
HBO, the greatest network of our time, has brought you compelling documentaries about pimps, hoes, players, johns, tricks, marks, mark-ass tricks, trick-ass marks, skeezers, skanks, skig skags, and scallywops. Now, America's most incredible network gives you another side of the story as we go into the world of the haters. America Undercover presents The Player Haters Ball.
Hey. Welcome to the first official Hunt's Fantasy Football Player Haters Ball, brought to you by Pat Hanlon of the Amsterdam Hoppers. Today we're going to be talking about all the players that I hate this week. Starting off with the defending champion in Chris Johnson. His only big games last year came against Kansas City, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Detroit. Stephen Hawking could have had a big game against all those teams. This week against Pittsburgh, he gets nothing and none of the goal line carries. Hey. Next, I want to deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Any running back from that team. They are the definition of how running back by committee is ruining fantasy football. They got a new offensive coordinator this week, so there's no way that they're going to score a ton of points, especially when they're trying to come from behind, because Dallas is going to be all over them. Hey. And finally, I want to hate on Brett Favre, because that man has more people hating him now than Mel Gibson hating the Jews. He's going to come out all over it, trying to prove a point. Too bad his boy Eric Mangini is going to be all over him, because he knows his weaknesses. He ain't going to do nothing this week. Hey. Finally, I'd like to hate on one manager every week in this segment. And we're going to start off with the silver medalist, my opponent this week. Do you remember his reaction after the draft? Hey, when it came and his name came on? The boy didn't even know he was going to be picking. And the silver medalist, it's more like sloppy seconds, because you can't get the prize, boy. I'm going to crush you this week, and there's going to be even more hate after I take you. Hey.